So earlier, Professor Chilidzi Marwala spoke about technology becoming more human. And in his talk, Edwell Gumbo has demonstrated the various ways in which human intelligence can be simulated in machines to actually mimic human actions. So I guess the question is AI making us smarter or dumber? Maybe we should put up a poll. But in the meantime, it is always refreshing to meet young people who are hell-bent on all things green. In Israel, Mthobisi Masinga advocates for green, net zero carbon buildings, sustainability initiatives, and resilient cities in partnership with cities and governments across the whole of Africa. So to share more on the green economy, please help me welcome Mr. Mthobisi Masinga.
Thank you. And a good warm welcome to all of you streaming live, and those that have joined us in this audience today. Perhaps to start us off, I will be looking at the pathways into 2030, the pathways beyond, and ultimately, of course, the green economy and talking to sustainability too. But what is the green economy? The green economy is a one that increases, that results in human well-being, human well-being and social equity while significantly reducing environmental risks and ecological risks too. Excuse me, sorry, the screen is not collaborating. Thank you. Sure. So, moving on to why the green economy is important. Speaking about technology, there's always glitches as well. Like we've seen, as much as it's smart, it's not as smart as it thinks it is, because now there's also a technological device issue that we've seen sometimes. But it arises from multiple crises and accelerating resource scarcity. We're looking at the issues of energy in South Africa, Eskom, the load shedding, water scarcity, day zero scares in Cape Town that we've seen. And of course, we've seen that water levels in the Eastern Cape have dropped to about 13 or 10%, which is a huge crisis in the country. Definitely the green economy is a vehicle for sustainable development, can take advantage of new growth trajectories, of course, that can help with more social inclusivity and respond to poverty, eradication, and economic diversification. While looking for opportunities in the green economy, I liked what the previous speaker mentioned. There's a lot of opportunities in the green economy. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is reduce poverty and inequality. There's a huge linkage between poverty and waste management. And that is, for some of us that live in Johannesburg, we've all seen, I don't like terming people as trolley pullers or trolley pushers, but we see them on the street. They are feeding into the circular economy. That is something that, government is trying to assist in, but this has become a means of self-actualization and self-realization, and also for them to empower themselves in being active in this economy. And they're doing a job that everybody needs, but nobody wants to do. There's definitely a common interest between developed and developing nations, because we've seen so many accords and policies being taken place, and of course, partnerships. Partnerships are extremely important, especially if we're looking at triple Ps in South Africa, public-private partnerships, in order to push more investment and adoption and implementation. So what is a green job? Well, the United Nations Environmental Programme has identified it as the slide above. But I think what's important that I wanted to highlight for me is that this job includes to help protect ecosystems, biodiversity, reduce energy, materials and water consumption through high efficiency strategies, decarbonize the economy, and minimize altogether, avoid the generation of all waste and pollution. Now, these are some of the 5 top cities that have a lot of green jobs. San Francisco, they are thriving in sustainable public transport. If some of you have been there or you've seen movies in San Francisco, you will realize they have about 6 lanes going that way and 6 lanes returning this way. You've got the tram, you've got the metro, you've got rail, you've got bicycle, you've got scooters, you've got electric cars, you've got public transports, and so on. And of course, pedestrianization, which is very important. You look at Portland, I've had the luxury to work in Portland. They are huge on clean energy, so they thrive on renewables. But coming to South Africa, perhaps, I think what's important to highlight is certification and the journey that we've taken as the Green Building Council of South Africa. We've certified over 800 buildings, which we're very proud of because we're targeting water efficiency, energy efficiency, which is a scarce resource of these resources, but also a scarce skill. So there's a huge demand for people to move into the built environment, especially from a sustainability point of view. The previous speaker talked about AI. We're moving towards smart cities, the digital twin, where you can extrapolate data from another city in order to advance your own cities. 4IR, South Africa is currently leading in terms of research and development in this regard. And we're seeing CNG gas for taxis in Cape Town, electrical buses, so there's a lot happening. And of course, energy performance certificates. We need auditors, young people move into maths and science in order for you to move into the space, to be capacitated in order for you to practice in the space. These are some of the sectors in the green economy: renewable energy, green buildings, sustainable transport, and so on. Some of the challenges, of course, we don't forget multilateral trading systems, technological innovation and transfer. I've worked in Norway. They're at a space where they're digitizing water and electricity. We developed a city called Spark City while I was working there in Buda. And that city basically powers up a whole city using data centers. Everybody's on their cell phones these days. So all these data centers are heating up and warming the city and also powering up a city. So there's no wastage of energy. The energy is always transferring from one point to another point. Right, some ideas. Windmills, wind power. Mpumalanga is researching and investing in wind power turbines to power up the province. Solar panels, there's a lot of shopping centers, retail that are investing in this, and corporate companies. So there's a huge demand for this. The use of bicycles, the mid-block alignments for some of you urban designers and urban planners and architects, where we have carless cities, where we're promoting pedestrianization. It is also healthier for us to walk, but it's also better to have streets that people can interact with. Carbon-free structures, fuel-efficient cars. We're looking at electric cars, hybrid cars. And then, of course, what's important is the incentives that are linked to that, where you go to countries like Norway, the government incentivizes you for buying an electric car. Up about to, if I'm not mistaken, 20 or 25% of your car installment is paid by the government if you buy an electrical car. So we need those partnerships to create an enabling environment. Then we talk about nature-based solutions. We need to rebuild our mangroves. We need to have these carbon offsets or the carbon sinks. Tree plantation, it takes nothing out of you to plant a tree, and it will help us in the extreme temperatures that we're currently experiencing. Advancing Net Zero, this is a project that we're working with the World Green Building Council. Okay, this just highlights who we are as the GBCSA, some of our members here, but I think what's important to highlight is the work we're doing from an advocacy point of view, policy lobbying, working with governments to develop green building policies in the adoption of the sustainable agenda, the Paris Agreement. South Africa has signed into it. C40 cities, 5 South African cities have signed into this, and it's Joburg, Tshwane, it's Ekurhuleni, which is new, Cape Town, and eThekwini. They're working very, very hard towards this transformation of the built environment and supporting a sustainable journey. Some of the awareness and training that we do as the Green Building Council, we do a lot of training, we do certification through Green Star. In the United States, as you would have seen in the other slide when I was talking about New York and San Francisco and their retrofitting of buildings, they use a tool called LEED. Some of the opportunities within this space is the financial benefits, the eco-loans, the green bonds. The financial sector is investing a lot into green bonds. We've seen ABSA, we've seen Standard Bank, Nedbank, I don't know, I'm forgetting, but they're all doing it. DBCSA is now investing into green bonds as well for social housing. So the movement is taking place, climate finance, sustainable finance, and of course, the access to that is very, very important from an African context. The most important thing that you can take home with you today, talking about the green economy, is the extreme weather patterns that we've seen globally, South Africa, the sea level rise, the floods, and so on, is that we need to try and get to a point where we limit global temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius by the year 2050. And how we'll go about that is to have these net zero carbon buildings. We need to have all new buildings net zero carbon by the year 2030. We need to have all new and other existing buildings net zero carbon by the year 2050 in order to keep that temperature increase. But should that not happen, the global temperature increase will be 2 degrees Celsius globally. But because of our geographical positioning in South Africa, that will amount to 4 degrees Celsius. Fast forward to the year 2100, for the future generations, the global temperature increase will be 4 degrees Celsius globally, and for South Africa, 8 degrees Celsius. And I don't need to mention to you what will happen should we get to that point. The countdown has begun. This was a diagram or a picture taken off New York, and it told us that we have 7 years to get to these ambitious targets. Have we reached them? Well, currently right now it's business as usual, but the point is that with little level of climate action, you choose low investment while there's a small speed of action. So we really need to work together as governments, as cities, as private sector, as young people to get to a point where we don't get these high temperatures. These are just some of the images that I'm sure a lot of us have seen on TV or newspaper, social media, and so on. We definitely are in crisis. And it is through science and technological innovation that we will achieve to have a more sustainable built environment. This is another image of South Africa. So we can't get to a point where we are living day zero, because then the environment is also at harm, and so is plants and animal and human life. Buildings now, of course, generate nearly 40% of the annual GHG emissions, so it's important for us to really target the low-hanging fruits when it comes to GHG emissions. So why green buildings? What is a green building? So that's a building that's energy efficient, resource efficient, and environmentally responsible. I think what's important here to take home with you is that 50%, almost half of all energy generated in the world today, is used by buildings. We all work in buildings, we sleep in buildings, we eat in buildings, we die in buildings, we are born in buildings, some of us. So it's very, very important that we target that in order to try and drop these global emissions. And this just shows us that buildings give us the low-hanging fruits because they are the low-cost emissions reduction, and it's important for us to work towards supporting a sustainable built environment from all facets and all ambits that we operate in. And the top three benefits, of course, is for the planet, for people, and for economics. And it's very important that that linkage is shown, because at least now we know that there's a clear balance towards that sustainable development agenda. Just some of the key drivers, of course: green buildings cost less to operate, they lower risk, they have a higher return on investment, especially talking from an ESG point of view, and principles of responsible investment. They align to policy changes, support SDGs, and support ESG reporting. I talked about ESG, of course, we're looking at climate change, energy, water, waste. The social part of it is building safety, health, and well-being, and from a governance point of view, it's audits, the reporting back. But what we're proud to mention is a program that was developed here in South Africa in 2018, and these were the 4 participating cities that are moving towards this agenda. Of course, Ekurhuleni is not there because they just joined the C40 cities movement this year. And I mentioned the global temperature increase. This graph here, especially the 2050 one, just shows us that the emissions will double if this is basically the cost of inaction. So we definitely need to act in order for us to try and reduce or limit the amount of emissions that we're emitting into the atmosphere. Talking about SDGs, green building, sustainability, and this green journey responds to a number of SDGs, and I've highlighted a number of them here in the slide that you can be able to read and interact with. And this leads me to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Gen Zs are recognized across the world as the green generation. But did you know that your activism doesn't have to stop there? Mthobisi has just shown us a world of careers that exist within the green economy. So from architecture to design, from finance to management, there's a space for you to actually create a green world. And that's it. We've come to the end of our opening presentations for day 3 of Sasol Techno X 2022. Please remember that we do have competitions for you and games that are going to pop up on the platform all throughout the day. You may see on the poll tab that different polls will come up during the day. Remember that you can win awesome prizes just by responding to that poll. We also have delegate bingo. What that means is we might call up your name, and if you answer our question in 2 minutes with the hashtag bingo, then you might win awesome prizes. We also have the soapbox, and you can take a video of yourself literally just telling us about who you are, what your Sasol Techno X story is, and what your ambition is for your future career. The best video wins an awesome, awesome prize. Finally, we've got our exhibition stands. Those are looking fabulous, and you can engage with managers of those stands to learn more about the limitless possibilities within science and technology. Remember that each stand, whether 2D or 3D, has an X that you have to look for. It's very difficult to find these, so look very hard. Turn the stands all the way through. Look right into the stands, and you might find them. Each X has a number, so keep adding up those numbers. And on Friday, if you give us the correct answer, then you might be in the draw to win that awesome prize of an iPhone 13. Make sure that you go to those exhibition stands. Now, thank you once again to all of our speakers. It's been absolutely great. We learned so much. Fourth Industrial Revolution, drones, robots, mechanics, electronics, green economy. Wow, I can't wait to see what's to come after the break. So speaking of break, make sure that you get your refreshments, take your restroom break, but don't forget to go to the exhibition stands. And of course, there's a virtual DJ. So send your song requests, BTS, Beyonce, we've got all of it covered for you. And we'll see you at 1 o'clock. Ciao.